Okay, we are going to get started in just a second, guys. Just FYI. I think so too. You're going to read the equity statement and the results policy.
Oh, of course.
Okay, 5,
You have to stay here.
4. All right. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to first establish that we have a quorum. If we could do a roll call vote, starting with Jen.
Here.
And I'm here.
Here.
Christina.
Here.
John.
Here.
And Nicole.
Here.
We have a quorum. Jen, as clerk, can you confirm that this meeting has been properly noticed?
It has.
Okay. I want to remind our in-person attendees, we're all brand new to this venue. That masks are required to be worn at all times. So I appreciate your cooperation in adhering to the requirements. And to help ensure that we're centering our board work around our shared values and serving our students, we begin each of our board meetings by reading our district's equity statement and results, which can be found at the top of the agenda. Yana, I think you are up tonight.
I am. Our VASD equity statement, each student has access to the resources and educational rigor they need at the right moment in their education, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, ability, language, family background, or family income. We are also reading our VASD mission statement from our one results policy. Each student will acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to achieve their personal goals, thrive in a diverse global society, and lead a healthy, self-fulfilling life.
Thank you. You're welcome. Are there any questions or comments about the remainder of the agenda? Hearing none, are there any motions to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Yana. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Jen. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda has been adopted. All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Clarity.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. And thank you for opening us up with our equity statement. We truly appreciate it. We have a very brief superintendent's update today. It'll be twofold. One will be the update on our COVID numbers as we do on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and in our board setting. As you can see on this slide behind me, we continue to trend down in the number of positive cases in over a 7-day span. Reminder to the board and to our public that we do continue to update this practically every 5 minutes. So our website has the most up to date. So this was as of printing, but as of printing, these are the totals that we have and printing occurred today. We noticed at the secondary level that we do not have any positive cases reported, and at the elementary level, we have a total of 4. Again, great appreciation to our community for strong mitigation efforts, and we will continue to maintain a status of a pro-vaccination district as well as a masking district. If there are no questions about our COVID numbers, I want to transition us to the continuation of our budget and to present the budget update. I'm delighted to have 2 members of our business department, Chad Weezy and Pete Grinder.
Am I coming through? All right, now we're live. Good evening, board members. It's good to see everyone again. We are borderline frequent flyer miles here at this point, but I think we're going to get things across the finish line tonight. So we do have a brief update, and then we will have a board vote tonight to finalize the budget after a long road that you guys have been on all the way back to last winter. And we are finally here this evening to get to the point that we will have a vote to finalize the budget. We have a few additional, really just more detail again to present to the board and the community tonight on our final budget. Did want to make sure the board and the public knew that we attached a rewritten finalized budget to board docs For transparency, we obviously can't go through that entire document this evening, but that is on board docs. If and when the budget were to pass tonight, is our plan with transparency again in mind to post that finalized budget to our website as quickly as we can, just so the public has access to that. We will go through a little more detail on Fund 10 and Fund 27 tonight. We'll present a more detailed budget by object and just go through that rather quickly. We'll give the board and the community a little history lesson on mill rate with a little different graphic. And then we'll have a recommendation to the board just before that vote. So I did want to just break down Fund 10 and Fund 27 for the board and the community in a little bit more detail tonight. As a reminder to the board, Fund 10 is really where most of the work is done in terms of board action. This is really where the board gets to vote on setting a final mill rate and levy, and really is the kind of spendable quote unquote money that school boards have a chance to really weigh in on in terms of where things end up on the budget line. I did want to point out to the board on that far right-hand column, and these are things we've been talking about for the last few months. It's just another way for us to portray this, where you can see that we are actually we'll have about 5% less in terms of expenditures from our local revenue stream, and that comes in the form of that reduced mill rate we've been talking about, and did have an increase both in state and federal sources that will feed into that Fund 10. I wanted to point out to the board that fund, that line in terms of 13% from the state is actually another piece of those one-time aid that we've been discussing with the board, that we believe will end up in a spot where we'll get a one-time splash of money of about $120 per pupil that came out of Governor Evers' budget. And we do plan on spending that down this year. That's where the state increase comes from. And the federal increase is just those ESSER funds, and that's fairly typical statewide. School districts are spending those monies down. As a reminder to the board, we're holding on to ESSER 3 to really make sure we have all the pieces put in place for what looks to be a rather difficult budget next year. But we believe holding on to that $3 million plus will put us in a decent position to be able to make some decisions for the following year. And this is just kind of a rolled up version of what you will see in the final budget book that will be that all of you had a chance to take a look at prior to the meeting, and will be posted to our website. Did want to break down Fund 10 and Fund 27. This is just another way to organize all the things that will be summarized in our budget book. And I think it just, and this is about average statewide. Some districts are a little below this, some are a little bit above it, we're a people rich and a people heavy organization. That's just how school districts run. This pie chart, when you take salary and you take benefits, and then you take that red box that says transfers, about 80% of our overall budget goes to paying for the people that serve our students. Many times community members ask for us to take a hard look at what's going on in our budget. And I think this is just one way to portray the fact that this is a people heavy budget. All school budgets are. And many times when you get, and we'll have difficult conversations moving forward, you get to a spot where boards and communities are asking folks to peck away at the edges to make difficult budget decisions. Lots of times those difficult decisions come in the form of salary, benefits, and how many people a school district employs. And I think this chart kind of shows that 80% of our overall budget does go towards paying the people that do the good work with our students. We just kind of wanted to break that down for the board tonight. Next, we did a little 9 or 10 year history in terms of where the mill rate has ended up. As a reminder to the board, the mill rate is simply a percentage of how much you pay in tax in terms of your property value. So we'll go through that a little bit more this evening. But you can kind of see here pre-referendum, we were in the neighborhood of 12.25 down to about 12 in terms of our mill rate. The mill rate went up to 1277. But again, pre-referendum, there were numbers being thrown around in the neighborhood of 1325, 1330 for a potential mill rate following that referendum. The mill rate we're recommending tonight is 1264, and that's the amount you pay on $1,000 in property value, $12.64. Next, the board saw this last week, and we had a good discussion regarding this overall summary sheet. I did want to point to the very bottom right-hand corner of this summary, where we're actually levying less this year than we had projected in that preliminary budget, and that is down to $64,600,000 and change. Did manage to keep that mill rate stable again. That was from a slight infusion of state and federal funds, and the fact that we've decided to pay down a little bit extra in terms of prepayment on debt, but did manage to keep the mill rate to what we presented at the annual meeting in the budget hearing, and we just moved some numbers around to do some prepayment on debt. We can certainly go back to any of these if board members do have questions tonight. I do know we have a packed agenda. So before we actually turn this back over to Dr. Clarity and eventually a vote, did want to again point out, because I just really think it's critical for our community to understand, in keeping that mill rate stable and actually a little bit lower from where it was last year, we've still put the pieces in place to prepay on debt relative to that capital referendum. Again, long-term savings on principal interest there in excess of $3 million. And we've gone through that a number of times, and super pleased that the board is supportive of this strategy moving forward. I believe it will give us some flexibility and some options in our growing district as we continue to compete for the very best teachers and have to make sure we have facilities for students when they come to the Verona area school district. So I did want to talk through next steps as far as what would happen tonight following a board vote. So you will approve a levy hopefully tonight. After that, and Pete's already been doing a bunch of this paperwork, our board clerk and the business office will have to report our budget and the levy to DPI by November 1st. That's why this meeting's happening this evening. And Pete will also file paperwork with our municipalities. Did want to take the opportunity to remind the board, and we'll actually post this on our website, that we tax in total 7 different municipalities that all have their own process for assessing property value. So I do want to make sure that folks understand that the board can control the mill rate, the board can control the levy, and we're doing that tonight. Something we don't have control over is your assessed property value. And I think that's important for folks in the community to understand that if you redid a kitchen, you put on a bathroom, and you have a screen and porch that landed in your backyard over the last couple of years, and your property hasn't been reassessed. Even though we kept our mill rate down, if your property value goes up more so than your neighbors, there's a chance you see an increase in your taxes, because we're just taxing versus that assessed property value. And we will see, it looks like on average, Fitchburg homes went up in terms of assessed value with a greater percentage than the other municipalities that feed into the Verona area school district. And there is a chance, depending on the assessed value, that could be all over the board. But it is looking like Fitchburg this year was hit a little harder on assessed value than the other municipalities that feed into the school district. So I did want to make sure I called that out. And we will, as I said, we'll at least get that summary up on our website following a past budget this evening. I don't think I have anything else until we get to the superintendent closing this out and calling for a board vote. I'm certainly here. So is Pete to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board before we move on to a board vote? Are there any additional comments that you would like to make, Dr. Clarity?
Yes, first, thank you. And again, tremendous appreciation for your work behind the scenes and presenting a balanced budget and a fiscally responsible budget on behalf of our community and the Board of Education. So thank you for that. Before I close the superintendent's report, I just wanted to give a quick updates on the next two board meetings worth of superintendent reports. So the board knew the direction that we were given in the form of presentations. On the November 1st board meeting, which is a week from today, we will have a presentation on our continuous improvement plan and planning process. Remember, that is our number one strategy, one of the two strategies for our work as a district this year. That will be from the academic services team under the leadership of Dr. Hawkins. On November 15th, the Board of Education and the community will receive the update on the state report card and status. It will be very transparent that due to the release dates of the information, we are going to have communication ready for our public prior to that. But also we'll make you aware of that communication before it goes out. That will November 15th will also be our first student recognition. So we're very excited to bring a student group here to be recognized by the Board of Education and to talk about some of the great things we're doing in schools. And we'll also have a quick update on Act 43, which is of course our annual report on school safety. Yes. So with that, I would like to close the superintendent's report and turn it over to our board president for board business.
Okay, so any questions from the board before we ask for motions? Hearing none. Do I have is there a motion to approve the 2021-22 budget as presented?
I move that we approve the 2021-2022 budget as presented.
We have a motion from Yana. Is there a second?
I second.
And a second from Nicole. All in favor signify with aye. All opposed? This motion passes. Thank you. We have a second motion to approve the certification of the 2021-2022 tax levy at $64,615,973. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the certification of the 2021-2022 tax levy at $64,615,973 with a mill rate of 12.64.
Thank you. Do I have a second to Yana's motion?
Second.
Is that Jen down there?
That was me down here.
Oh, we have a second from Jen. Okay, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The second motion passes as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for your work. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Okay, we are getting close to our interview section, so I am gonna ask, just in case, if there's any members of the public who wish to address the board on any topic related to board work or policy, they are welcome to do so at this time. If you filled out and turned in a public comment form, please form a line over on the right-hand side of the stage and your name will be called. As a reminder, masks must remain on while speaking. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes, to appoint a spokesperson if the concern is a group concern, and speakers must refrain from referencing specific staff members or students during their comments. Are there any public comments? Okay, so hearing that there are none, we are a few minutes early of our start time for interviews. So I want to wait till 6:30 to start on those. And I'll hold on doing the intro to what we're doing with that. But we can go ahead and if you don't mind, we can move to a little further down to our agenda and we can go through our consent agenda. So the board's consent agenda, we are skipping down to number 7. And if we have, has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda? Are there any concerns? Hearing none, I move to approve the consent agenda with the October 18th meeting minutes and the October 18th workshop minutes. If we have a minute, I'd like to take a look at our future agenda items. One of the things that was also mentioned up in the board business is discuss future meeting dates. And if we have some time now, I'd like to take a look at those. Historically, our December meeting date have been a little bit tricky to get quorums because of the closer they get to winter break, kind of runs into a fairly hectic time. So I'd like to at least check in with the board now and see if there are any concerns with possibly moving the 20th, December 20th meeting date a week earlier to December 13th.
I have young children and therefore no life, so I am fine with that movement.
Which is good to know. Okay.
Yep.
Any other thoughts? Is there anyone with that would not work? You're a very quiet board tonight. I don't even know.
That works for me, Meredith.
Thank you, Yana. Okay. I don't think we need to take a formal vote, but if I could just get a general consensus, if you are okay with this, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, if anyone's opposed, again, this is an informal vote, let me know now. And if hearing no concerns, let's go ahead and we will move our October meeting dates. So they are December 6th and December 13th. Okay, and let's see, it looks like we are filling in with our applicants. So I'm excited to get started with our candidate interviews, but we're about 5 minutes early. If we want to take just adjourn for a quick 3-minute break, and then we can meet back here and we can start right in with our interviews.
Chair, may I just put a quick update?
Absolutely.
Board, based off the moving of the date from December 20th to December 13th, and timing of the completion of our audit, I would like to make the board aware that we would then move the audit presentation to the Board of Education to that December 13th date that was just recently approved.
That sounds great.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would that in any way affect anything in January? I don't know if you thought about that, but would that not be the 1st January? The 1st January was supposed to be the 3rd, I think.
Mhm.
Are you still thinking that or not sure?
I hadn't looked past the December
Okay.
dates since those are the
Okay.
ones on the calendar,
Okay.
but we can take a look and see how dates fall. January is another tricky one since we also have the WASB state convention.
Yep.
So we will continue to evaluate our calendar as we go.
Okay.
But we'll keep that on the horizon.
Because I know
Okay.
I will not be here on the 3rd.
Oh, yeah, good. Okay, good to know. Okay, let's see. Let's take just a couple minutes for a break. We'll be back here in 4 minutes. Okay? Okay, thank you, everybody, for the quick adjournment. And it looks like we have all of our candidates here, so I'm excited to get started. First, I just want to say that I truly believe it is a privilege to serve our community, students and families in this capacity as a board member. And I'm inspired to see so many people willing to dedicate their time and their energy and their talents to serving in this way that I really feel is such a worthy cause for our kids and for our community. So thank you, first of all, to everybody who has put the time in to apply and shown up tonight. And we're excited to hear from everybody. With the number of applicants that we're interviewing, we want to be respectful of everybody's time while still having a sufficient amount of time to get to know everybody. The first round of interviews tonight will be fairly straightforward. We will randomly select the order of interviews. Each candidate will join us on the stage right over here at the microphone. You'll have the opportunity to give a brief introduction to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being appointed to the board. And then we'll ask a few questions. And there'll be a copy of the questions that's up at the microphone for you. Each candidate will have 7 minutes total with intro questions. And if there's a time for a closing statement, that'd be great. I'll have a timer going so you can see how much time you have. It'll show green and it'll show a time countdown. At 1.5 minutes left, or 1 minute and 15 seconds left, it'll flip to orange. So if you don't see the numbers and you just see it flip to orange, you know that you've got about 1 minute and 15 seconds for kind of closing thoughts. Let's see, after all of the interviews, the board is going to select no less than 2 and no more than 5 candidates to bring back for final interviews next week on the 1st. So if any candidate isn't able to stay until the end of the interviews, I'll send an email to all candidates just letting everyone know who will be coming back for a second round and for the next steps. For the board, I want to just point out what you guys have at your table. You've got just a list of applicants in alpha order. If you have anything you want to take notes or anything, second page with the one that says board member name at the top, this will be your ballot. You'll just mark your 3 candidates that you want to bring back. And I have a feeling it will be a very hard decision. And the final is you also have a list of the questions. Okay, so our order tonight will be, and I'm going to just pick them as we go. We have Carissa Huntington will be first. Rick Arts will be second. Yanli Rush will be third. Joe Haynes will be fourth. I feel like I'm doing lottery here. Corby White will be 5th. Chelsea Belinsky will be 6th. Paul Schouler will be 7th. Chris Hinshaw will be 8th. Leotha Stanley will be 9th. Jennifer Kostich will be 10th. And Megan Finch will be 11th. So if we could pass those down to Jen.
And Meredith, quick question. Do we need to submit our notes or anything?
No, those are just, if you need them for you, they are personal
Perfect.
notes. Jen, would you do me a favor and would you read out the order one more time for us?
Our first interviewee will be Carissa Huntington. Second will be Rick Arts. Third, Yanli Rush. 4, Joe Haynes. 5, Corby White. 6, Chelsea Belinsky. 7, Paul Schaller. 8, Chris Henshaw. 9, Leotha Stanley. 10, Jennifer Kotich, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing, I tried to listen to everything you said, Meredith. And 11 is Megan Finch.
Thank you so much for repeating that.
Of course.
Okay, if we are ready, if Carissa could come on up. And again, we'll have questions up at the microphone, so you don't have to memorize everything that's being asked, but we will have Yana start off with questioning. And Carissa, you're going to be the first person to tell me if this is visible and if this is something that you can see from over at the microphone.
So far, I can see it from here.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. Nothing like this glaring countdown right in your face. Okay. All right. So let me know when you're ready. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks
nice
for
to meet you.
having me.
So if you would like to start by giving us an introduction to who you are and why you're interested in the board.
Sure. Hi, I'm Carissa Huntington, obviously. I have 3 kids who attend the pre-program or the TWE program at Sugar Creek. My husband is Latino, and a bilingual education was the #1 criteria for us when looking at a school. In terms of my interest in the board, I think, so my husband and I both graduated from Verona, and we felt like we had a world-class education. And so when we came back from Washington, DC to the Madison area, we were only looking at Madison and Verona because of the bilingual program. And we were really disappointed in some of the grade school stats that we saw as we were deciding between schools. And so, especially those around equity, right? And so, as a parent of 3 Latino children, I had to pause about, is this really the best school district where I want to send my kids? And eventually, obviously, I ended up here in Verona, and I'm very happy with that choice. I was very impressed with your decision to hire Dr. Clarity for superintendent. And I do really like what I see in the strategic plan and the goals that are set out there. And I would like to be a part of helping the school district achieve those goals. So I believe that I have very valuable experience that I can bring to the board. I have degrees in business and education. I have 20 years of experience in nonprofit business administration. I've served on the board of directors for 5 organizations. For the past 10 years, I've been managing federal grants that support students as they explore careers and apply to university in the United States. And my experience annually, I manage about 100 projects worth $6 million. So I specialize in financial and people management, as well as monitoring and evaluation. And I really am committed to data-driven monitoring and evaluation, and feel like that is probably my greatest strength that I would bring to the board as you look to achieve your strategic plan.
Perfect, thank you. So I will ask all of the questions, and there are 4. So the first one, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member, and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
So I think the role of the school board member is to represent the community and the best interest of the children. The administration obviously does that as well, but they are in the day-to-day weeds of like getting it done. And I think that we are the check and balance as the board member. So that would be sort of the basic answer there. It's more governance. It's more looking at the big picture.
Perfect, thank you. Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community, and what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
I really want every child to get the world-class education that I received. And I think that that is really important, that we are really looking at the needs of every single kid and making sure that there is not disparities between what some kids are getting and what other kids are getting in the school district. And again, I do have a lot of experience in sort of tracking and making sure that we have achievable objectives that we are really looking at in terms of like gathering data and making sure that we're digging down to make sure that we understand what the issues are so that we can set that direction really clearly.
Perfect, thank you. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
Growth, right? I mean, I think that's kind of perpetual in Verona. I think that growth is a really making sure that as we grow, that that's a balanced district that represents everybody, that we are able to incorporate all the students and figure out how to make space for them. I mean, I know we just built a brand new high school and that's lovely and beautiful and I love it, but I know that we will continue to have that as a challenge.
Thank you. And final question, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring of 2022 election?
Yeah, I'll admit that I submitted my application to the board and then realized that I was running like becoming a politician, not really, but like, you know what I mean? Like it was like an afterthought, but yes, I am prepared to do that. Yes.
Perfect. And I'm not sure how much time you have left, but those are all of my questions. So closing statement is yours.
Oh, I did not come prepared with a closing statement. I really want to thank everybody here for the work that you guys do and for the time that you're taking in finding somebody for the board. I love that there's so much competition, honestly, and I hope that you guys select the correct candidate that matches what your needs are.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Carissa.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we appreciate you being willing to be the first to break the ice. for
Did I have a choice?
Right.
We appreciate, thank you so much for being here tonight and for putting your name in the hat. Our next interview is Rick Arts. And I've got to figure out how to get my timer back to 0 here. Hello, looks like you might have brought your own cheering squad tonight.
I did not have, yeah.
Excellent decision. Okay. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
As you heard, we are going to have time for an intro and then Jana will ask some questions. So I am going to turn it over to you if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for the board.
Sounds good. I'm Rick Arts. I'm a Wisconsin native. I've lived in the Dane County area for about 20 years since I moved here for school, essentially. And my motivation is very simple. I really just want to help. I was inspired touring the new high school and reflecting back on, my experience in public school education in Green Bay compared to what is evidently available here for our kids is just really incredible. And, thinking about my professional career, which is admittedly very scientific, very technical. I've spent a lot of time in the chemical industries and pharmaceutical industries, but also a lot of time managing people, projects, processes that are, very, very expensive, very time consuming, and but also very important, right? We're working on developing medicines for diseases that have yet to be able to be treated. So I feel like those skills would translate very well. I have a lot of experience managing people directly, as well as larger programs and initiatives. And I just want all of the kids to have the same types of opportunities that I've had.
Perfect. Thank you. Question 1. In your opinion, what is the role of a school board member? And how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Yeah, so at the risk of copying, it is being the voice of the community and also a role of oversight and ensuring accountability that we're living up to the mission and living up to the values that are set forth by the board, and not being afraid to raise your hand and say, I don't think this is something that's being done correctly, or how can we improve this, or whatever the case may be. So it's an accountability check on the taxpayers' wishes and desires.
Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community, and what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this mission? Vision, not mission. Sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, I think there's just so much opportunity. When I was walking through that new school, there was more opportunity in the wood shop than I had in my entire high school when I was a kid. And so I think we take that, we build on that, we extend it into, what are all the different possibilities and potential futures for our children that they might want to do, and how do we set up our education system to be able to support that? Because the world is substantially more complicated than it was when we were in school, and I can see the day when they're going to be significantly smarter than me and be able to do whatever it is that they want, and so we just have to be prepared to support that.
Great. Question 3. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
So I mean, growth is the obvious. That is the major problem. I mean, we're dealing with it on the private side professionally. We're, building all these plants in Verona and hiring hundreds of people, and I don't know where I'm going to find all of them. Similarly, like we've got all these students coming through. Where are you going to put them? How are you going to educate them, feed them, the sports teams, like all the different pieces and parts that go into that. It's really complicated. Secondly, I think, the role of technology and the role of sort of, automation and the different things that our kids are into, and quite frankly, just much better at us than we are. Embracing that and being on the leading edge of it rather than catching up, I think would be a second challenge.
Perfect, and I can't write fast enough. All right, question 4. If appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Yes, absolutely. I had kind of a similar epiphany, like, oh yeah, I would have to do that pretty quickly. But yeah, I made a job change in the beginning of this year. I've freed up a lot of time for extra things, I guess. So I'd be prepared to do that.
Perfect. Those are all of my questions. Feel free to finish with a closing statement.
Absolutely. Wow, I managed 2 whole minutes. Also do not have a closing statement. Like I said, I really just want to help. I've been through a lot of successful programs, new drug approvals, new commercial launches. It's very rewarding. It's a ton of work. But that's what it takes. That's what it takes to really do something great. And so I'm prepared to lend, the skills that I've acquired over the last, 20 years or so to also help our kids in our district.
Go ahead. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in tonight, and we really appreciate, again, your willingness to put your time and energy out for the board. This is again, very, we all feel this is such a worthy time, and we really appreciate anyone who's willing to join us up here. So
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you.
Okay, our third candidate is Ms. Yanli Rush. I'm getting the hang of the timer. Okay.
I need to get the hang of asking questions and writing at the same time.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks. It's harder than
I could do it.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So
Thank you.
it's so nice to be able to meet everybody in person after I've been able to read so much about everyone. So we are appreciative of your time tonight. So I'm going to let you start off by introducing yourself and letting us know what motivated you to apply for the board position.
Sure. So my name is Yang Li. I did my master's degree and my PhD degree at UW Medicine in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. My focus is global education and world language education. So before I go into grad school, I was a elementary school teacher and middle school teacher for 9 years in both China and the US. And 5 of those years, I was a vice principal in the school, have 2,000 students. So that's my education background. So I have a kid, he is at 6th grade, and I just came from the conference at here, and I'm very happy. One of the things motivated me to run this seat is, as I say, like my kid studying here, and he has some social emotional issue. I always struggling, should I move him to the private school? And I keep him in Verona, and he is an amazing student now. And just like the conference with the teacher today, everything he is exceed expectation. So that is one of my motivation. I want to advocate for the school. And also, like as a first generation immigrant, I came here when I was 29, so barely speak English. So it's hard to think about a place as your second home, but I definitely think Verona is my second home because the people are so nice here. I did my PhD dissertation in the Verona community. I interviewed like 40 different families across different socio-economic and racial background. And I found like there are some families certainly need more resources to help their kids to succeed in school. So that is another motivation for me to run this seat.
Perfect. Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member? And how does this role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
I think the role as a school board is like a represent the community, represent the parents. And like make sure their voice can heard. So that is my main thinking.
Question 2, what is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
My vision is like I help every kid like succeed in this like diverse like globalization era. So I really want, because like my background is like a global education with the experience in different countries about education. So I really want to use my skills and knowledge to help our kids to succeed, to see have more like an intercultural competence and become like a new generation of global citizens.
Question 3, what do you see as the major issue facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
I think the first, the strategic plan is like a personalized learning for every student. I think the plan like is great, but I know the implementation could be very difficult. So as the school board, I would really like to advocate for teachers like a professional development and also how to improve like families, especially those like a minority low-income families resources, and how can help them to access like a more educational resources, and also increase the diversity about the workforce, and also attract more like a diverse population into Verona.
Perfect. And last question, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
I will put a maybe so far, because if I get selected, I will see like how the work here can support my vision of education.
Perfect. Thank you. And with whatever time is left on there, you can give us your closing statement.
Okay, so I really love education. That's why I like my career and my education is all about education. I also have a personal startup, and I name it Utopia, as like a education utopia. In this startup, I send like teachers from the US and to different countries to helping the kids living in poverty to learn English. So that is part of my dream, and I will continue to do it. And also, there's also very personal reason, because my husband worked in Epic, and he developed a team, like a hosting team, started from 5 people to 400. So lots of people moving to Verona, and also me as an like working. I also, because my personal work, I am a teaching faculty at UW-Madison. I also work with like a different school district to have a partnership to build my program as well. So lots of people come to me and ask, oh, should I choose the Verona School District or Middleton School District? And I always say, absolutely Verona. However, I see the doubt from their eyes, and I usually not happy for that. So I want to change that. I want people coming to Verona to settle in here just like me. And I know I was one of those lucky immigrants here, because I got all this love from my neighborhood. I living in a wonderful neighborhood in Verona. And my plan was I finish school and then I will leave Wisconsin because it's too cold. Right now, I love here. So that's why I want to contribute like what I know, my skill, my vision to this area, to these people. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming in tonight. It was nice to meet you. Our next interview is Mr. Joe Haynes. All right, I jinxed myself when I said I figured out how to set this better, but okay, there.
Hello.
Hi, Joe, how are
everyone.
you?
Good.
Just like as we've kind of been doing, we're going to give you some time to introduce yourself and explain who you are and what was your motivation for applying for the board. And then I'll turn it over to Yana for some questions. So if
Terrific.
you're ready, I'll start the timer.
You bet. It's really nice to meet you all. My name is Joe Haynes. I'm a parent of 5 different district students in 3 schools. We have a middle schooler, 2 elementary schoolers, and twin boys in the pre-K program, the district pre-K program. So I bring a perspective as a parent to students at multiple different levels across the district, which I think is one of the things that initially interested me in pursuing this. But more broad than that, my wife and I have just loved living here. We've lived in Verona for, I think, 9 years, and we have been looking for different ways to try and give back to our community because we do love it here so much. And what I think initially attracted me was this would have been back in late summer of 2020. We had attended virtually several of the board meetings, as I think a lot of parents did, as we were trying to figure out how we were going to navigate this environment. And I was just so impressed with the way that the board handled that in sometimes some tense situations. And I thought, this is within my skill set. I'm an attorney for UW Health. And one of the things that I have a lot of experience with in that role is managing difficult situations or providing rational analysis in the face of sometimes emotional or tense situations. And seeing what's been going on nationally, thankfully not so much locally right now, but in terms of schools and school boards in particular becoming a new battleground for certain cultural wars that have been going on. I see that as a problem that we could potentially face here in our community. And I think that my professional skills align with being able to handle that. And in addition to that, like I said, the perspective of having kids of lots of different ages in the school district, I think would give me a perspective to be able to help out.
Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Sure. In addition to the great answers everybody else has given, I'd say that the main role of the school board is in governance. It's oversight, making sure the resources are stewarded appropriately, and in setting the strategic vision as opposed to the administration, which is involved in how to execute that strategic vision. So taking that feedback from the community, helping that inform the strategic vision, and then allowing and empowering your administrators and your staff to be able to execute that.
Question 2, what is your vision for education in this community and what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
Sure. When my wife and I were looking around the greater Madison area for where we wanted to settle our family, the thing we primarily looked at was the quality of the schools and compared them. And we chose Verona because at the time it really was what we felt the best school district in the greater Madison area. And since then, it's only developed more. We have this beautiful new high school. So I'd like to see Verona continue to foster that and improve upon their really excellent reputation in the community as having great schools, both because that will bring people in and benefit the community from a broader standpoint, and also it'll help the kids who are already here. I really did like the part of the strategic plan that the goal is to really help every student achieve their individual goals and to fit in a broader community.
Thank you. Question 3, what do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district, and what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
Sure. I'd say 2. Number 1 would be balancing the role of technology in education. I think we've seen technologies growing exponentially, and the ability to leverage that to improve more efficient delivery of education is really positive. But at the same time, the risks that come with digital life have grown exponentially too. I did see reference in the strategic plan, which I really appreciated, to fostering digital safety, which as a parent of a preteen, that's like foremost on our minds is how do we balance that? How do we let them get the benefits of technology without getting all the burdens that come with it? So that's one. And in terms of what the board can do to foster that, it is determine how to balance those interests and how to incorporate them into a strategic plan. What value do we place on technology and what value do we place on protection against the risks that come with technology? That's really should be a reflection of the community standards for how, what level of risk we're willing to tolerate. The second issue I think would be staffing. I mean, I think that comes with growth, is as there's growth in the community, you're going to need more staffing, but also how do we continue to meet our current staffing needs and provide the support that we need to for our existing staff and attract new staff to come in.
Great. And question 4, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think like everybody else, it's not the thing that we would seek out and love to do, but yeah, I think so.
Great. And with the time remaining, please give us your closing statement.
I just really appreciate having the opportunity to come here and meet you all and to talk about the board. Like I said, I was very proud of our community as I attended the board meetings that I attended to see how well we handled a very challenging situation and continue to handle. And I just want to give back however I can and be of help. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for tonight, for coming in. It's been wonderful to meet you, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with us tonight.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so
Thank
much. Okay, our next interview is Corby White. So come on up. And everyone's doing excellently on time. We are right at.
So we're on interview.
Good evening.
Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're dealing with a little bit of a WASP issue, so just don't mind us.
Oh, WASP?
Yes.
You know, just as one does in, the middle of board meetings, no big deal.
This is other duties as assigned in my contract.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you
tonight.
for having me.
So as you've heard, we're going to give you some time to introduce yourself, tell us what motivated you to apply for the board, and
Absolutely.
then Yana is going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
And we look forward to hearing from you and about you. So I'm
All
going
right.
to start the timer.
All right. Well, I'm Corby White. Can you hear me okay? I feel
Yes.
like the mask is covering me.
Yeah.
I'm the state of Wisconsin's health program manager. So I manage all of the health insurance plans that offer insurance for state and local governments for the entire state. So it's my busy time of the year, open enrollment, as you probably know. I'm also a proud Verona resident since 2004. Bought my house right around the corner from here, up Poplar Way. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men of Madison, where our strategic goal is pretty similar to Verona's, where we strive to offer and improve the quality of life for all students through the areas of education. I'm the vice captain of the Black Men Run Madison chapter. And lastly, most important and what relates most to this, I'm a member of the Dane County Restorative Justice Program. And that was my #1 driving force for me wanting to apply to be a member of the school board. I noticed when I was dealing with especially these young Black and brown men in the program, that when I would talk to them and when they would respond, that in a lot of cases, they had trouble even constructing cohesive sentences or coherent sentences, I should say. And then when we would have them write letters of apology as part of their repair harm agreement, there was obviously a disconnect there with the writing, even the math. You can see it in some cases where they had to construct invoices to pay back to repair harm. So I started to do analytical learning with myself and with members of the Madison Metro School District. And I said, you know, show me what's happening with these students of color and the LGBTQ students and students with disabilities. Show me statistics of what's going on with their learning since the pandemic. And it was disgusting when I saw the reading levels, the writing levels, and what was going on. And I said, okay, let me get involved with my district and see what's going on. So I started to reach out to teachers in my neighborhood. A lot of teachers live on my block. And I asked them what's going on, and they solidified what I found out analytically, that there's a huge problem here. And how do we address it? By fostering those authentic relationships with these families, with these students. It's not going to be done by simply telling them or teaching them. These students need somebody that they can relate to, that they have trust in, to be able to let themselves be vulnerable and know what's needed. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Perfect. Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Sure. To me, what the school board member is the foot soldier, so to speak, for the superintendent. They are the people who go out to the community to check the pulse and find out what's going on, to gather that information or even the analytical information, bring that back to the superintendent and figure out how to share that information and come up with policies to implement and address what's going on.
Perfect. Question 2, what is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
Sure. What I would like to see is Verona become even more diverse. When I first moved here in 2004, I'm originally from Watts, California, and also from parts of Milwaukee, and came here because of UW. I'm a UW graduate. And when I moved to Verona, I noticed my block was more diverse than it is now. And that struck me as odd. So what I like to see is a more diverse community, diverse educational system. And I think making it all inclusive, I have those skills to do that because I was part of what was called the Chapter 220 program. Don't know if everyone's familiar with that. In Milwaukee, it was a program where they would bus kids like me from the inner city to better school districts, the one that I went to. In exchange, those students from the better school districts would go to Milwaukee. Some of those would. It failed for obvious reasons, but I know what it's like to be those kids coming in from Fitchburg, being bused to Verona, and having that dichotomy of a different cultural experience when they get here and then when they go back home and having to deal with that. So I think I have those skills to be able to relate to them, to foster that, again, authentic relationship with them, their families, their guardian, whoever the case may be, to let me in and see what those educational inequities are so that we can get to those resources that they need to make sure that these kids are successful.
Great. Question 3, what do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
I think the major issue is educational equity, finding out what those resources and getting access to those resources that these students need in order to be successful. First, we have to learn what they need in order to then go out and get those resources for them. I think diversity and inclusion is a huge issue. I was talking to a teacher last week that teaches at Stoner Prairie, and she told me every Monday they have a diversity training. I said, that's great. What's the problem? She said, we're the only school in the district that does it. I said, are you serious? She said, yeah, we're the most diverse school in the district. So I said, okay, so what I'm hearing is by the time these kids get to high school, now we have cultural shock because they're in a situation where they see this diversity. The teachers may not know how to deal with it at the high school level. They weren't the teachers at Stoner Prairie going through these trainings. So I think that's a major issue that needs to be addressed. If we're going to do it at one school, it has to be done or should be done correctly at all schools in the district.
Question 4, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And with the time that you have left, please give us your closing statement.
In 15 seconds, I think relatability fosters and creates accountability. These students and their families need someone that they can relate to, that they let their guards down, that they're able to talk to, and then figure out how to address this educational inequity situation.
Talk about timing. Excellent work. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been fantastic to hear from you and to meet you, and we really appreciate you coming to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, our next interview is Chelsea Bolinsky. Yes, we can. I have to. We are moving through these. Wow. Impressive.
Guys.
Hi.
It's fun to actually be on stage here in person rather than just seeing you over a screen.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining
Thank
us
you.
tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and meet with us today. So as you heard, we'll give some time for you to introduce yourself, explain your motivations for applying for the school board position, and then answer some questions from Yana. And we'll start the timer. So are you
All
ready?
Okay.
Okay.
I am probably the least intuitive candidate out of everybody who's come here. You've talked to some really incredible people tonight who have had some really deep thoughts on a lot of great things. I am the stay-at-home mother of 7 children. We homeschool. So I think that it is very fair for all of you to ask yourselves why I would care to be on this stage tonight. I do have children that take some classes at the high school from time to time, and we're really grateful for that resource because you just can't do marching band at home in your living room. It doesn't work. But I toured the new high school, and I also, you know how there are a whole bunch of little things that coalesce into a decision that you make. So I could bore you with all the details, but I'll just give you 2. I toured the new high school, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It could have been a community college. It was so well appointed. But there were messages all over the place that made me feel like I did not belong there because I am not liberal. I'm not a liberal. And there were a lot of liberal messages there. And I felt like those messages belonged there, but I noticed the lack of a counter message, if that makes any sense. And I don't feel like education should ever be politicized. I feel like if people aren't given all perspectives on an issue, they're not being educated, they're being indoctrinated. People should not be taught what to think, they should be taught how to think. And as I walked the library and looked at the books being offered, I was grateful to see a lot of those books there that were books that I personally don't agree with, because I feel like those books have to be read. People have to tackle these issues. But some of the books that I would like to see people read were not there. And I felt like I want to see both. I want to see it all. I want to see everything represented. Short of indecency and pornography, I think it should be in a high school library. I really do believe it belongs there. And so I didn't see myself reflected in the school at all. And then the other thing is, as I was looking at the things that were being asked of me to apply for the school board, I felt like I was being told what to think in order to apply. And I felt like there was almost a dog whistle going on. If you do not think this way, please do not apply for the school board. And I don't agree with everything that is being done on the school board, although I have to say that nobody applies for a school board if they don't care. People apply for a school board because they want to give back to their community. They really want to invest. This is not a high-paying job, you know? So I really respect everyone who's here, but I wanted to give a counterbalancing voice. I wanted people who think like me to at least have somebody on the stage who thinks like me. Do I feel like I'm the best representative for people who think like me? Probably not. I'm not very glib. Generally, I know what I wanted to say in a conversation 2 days after it happened. But I really want the opportunity to present my side of the story. I want to be here because I feel like my people who think like me need a voice too. I feel like the most important diversity that you can have is not the immutable characteristic kind of diversity, which really matters, but the intellectual diversity where people can think and share their thoughts freely and speak their voices and be heard, and where there's respect and kindness and a striving to understand the other person's perspective, even if deep down you know you will never, ever agree with them. So that's why I'm here.
Great, thank you. Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member? And how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
I think that everybody who has spoken so far has done such an excellent job of covering this, that there's very little that I can add. And considering that I'm speaking to the school board, I don't think I can elucidate it for you. But I do believe that we are there to speak for the community. And again, that's why I want to be here, so.
Great. Question 2, what is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
So my vision for education in this community would just be that people would have access to a broad range of education. I feel like the education that's being offered here is excellent, but I feel like it's skewed. And I want everything that's being presented, but I want everything presented. And that would be my vision, that people would feel like they could speak out and not be afraid of censure. So walking through the high school, I saw this beautiful mural with the labor fist up in a whole bunch of different colors. And I saw a whole bunch of people of color who had accomplished amazing things in their lives. But I don't think you would see Clarence Thomas in that lineup, because I don't feel like the person who put that mural up would really like Clarence Thomas. But I wanted to be able to see somewhere on the hall, somewhere in some window, something that said, look, conservative Black people do amazing things too. I wanted that. I wanted people to feel like in order to succeed, it doesn't mean you succeed only in one way. It means that you give back at the highest level of which you are capable of giving back, regardless of where you are at on the spectrum. Anyway, there you go.
Perfect, thank you. Question 3, what do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
Diversity of thought and opinion is one. I don't know if you can narrow it down to one. I mean, there really is the growth issue, isn't there? Staffing issues are huge. What's going on with school boards all over the country, that is just incredible. I cannot believe how out of control that has gotten to be. There are a lot of issues and they all really matter. And I think the hardest part is juggling all of those needs and getting it right. Like what do we need to focus on now? What balls can we not afford to drop? That's a tricky one.
And question 4, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
I am, with the caveat that I would want your permission to do so first. If you've worked with me for a little while and you've decided it's insufferable, I would rather know that before I went to all the pain and effort of running.
Great, and with the time that you have remaining, please offer us your closing statement.
I just want to thank you for the graciousness in which my application has been handled. And I just wanted to say how fun it is to see the way you interact with each other up here. You are all very different people, and yet I can see that you have fun together, and I really like that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been fantastic to meet you, and we really appreciate the time that you've spent to come in and talk to us and introduce yourself. So thank you.
Take care and good luck, you guys. There really are a lot of amazing people out in the audience tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've had a request if we could take a 5-minute intermission. That would be, I appreciate everybody's patience, but is that okay? 5 minutes?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Let me guess, you asked for the intermission.
I did.
I'm not saying who, I'm just saying I've had a request. When we get back 5 minutes, if we can return at 7:25, Paul Scheller will be up on deck. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. We appreciate it so very much. Our next interview will be with Mr. Paul Scheller. So come on down. Hi, welcome. We appreciate you coming tonight.
Nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you as well. So as we'll go through, with other candidates, we'll have you give your introduction to yourself and then tell us what's motivated you to apply for the board. And then Yana will ask some questions. So if you are ready,
I'm ready.
We'll get started.
I grew up in the district. I dairy farm. So I actually, last year, I was able to purchase the farm that I was born on. Actively dairy farm, so it's fairly intensive work. But I guess through my neighbors and in the community, I've always been, I guess the idea of serving your community has been instilled in me. My neighbors are the Durst brothers, and one was always on the school board for a long time, for the better part of 2 decades. And the other one has been on town board. Pardon me, I'm a little nervous here. This is a little out of my wheelhouse for being a dairy farmer. But at a younger age after college, I had already come to the conclusion that I wanted to serve. And I always had an interest in governance. Through college, that had kind of shifted more towards psychology, sociology, people, I guess, which I truly believe kind of stemmed from trying to understand cattle. So I don't intend to make any more of a connection than that, but yeah, I find people very interesting. I have found a great deal of interest in learning about other people's opinions and understanding opinions that I don't necessarily agree with. Currently, I have got 2 children in the district, which is why I have more of an interest now than in the past to serve. I think it's important to have as many perspectives to be the voice of the community, I guess, to make sure that everyone is being heard. And I guess that's about it for an introduction.
Perfect. Thank you. Question 1. In your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
The role of a school board member. I guess there's a few bigger things. Governance is one, to oversee, to make sure that, to double check that everyone in the district are doing their job and that children are succeeding. Number 2 would be truly a voice of the community. Reaching out and making sure that you're not only sharing your own opinion, but opinions of those around you. And finally, be kind of a long-range planning. It'd be more of the big picture items rather than the actual operation of the schools.
Great. Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
My vision for the education of this community. I guess the biggest thing that I had gained from high school and college was experiencing different things. My animal science degree didn't have much to do with sociology, didn't have much to do with psychology, didn't have much to do with law, precisely 0. But by having those courses available, I was able to find interests that I never knew I had. So I think that is one of the most important things that the district can do is have the widest array, whether it is trips overseas, whether it's, it's trades, art, it's everything. And it's you can't simply focus only on STEM because you lose part of yourself if you don't have the exploration, I guess is the best word for it, to truly understand yourself.
Great, thank you. Question 3. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
I guess the current major issue is kind of balancing the education or the in-person education versus protecting, pardon me, the idea of COVID, I guess, right now. I mean, that's this very short-term issue that is facing us. It is making sure that we can maximize the amount of in-person education. With me having very young children, I can totally tell you that it's very important to have as much time as possible, though we need to make sure that we're not going to be a burden on the society or on the community as a whole by putting ourselves at risk or children at risk when we don't need to. Longer term, it might be the economic or how our economy is actually shifting and changing over time. In farming, I've seen a number of difficulties that I just had never foreseen in the last 12 to 18 months. And I think we are starting to see today issues that we were expecting a year ago, and I think it's coming to a surprise to a lot of us. So I think economic changes will be a huge issue in the future, and adapting and making sure that we have adequate plans to adequately fund our schools.
Great. And last question, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Yes, I'm ready to, or prepared to run for office in the spring. As I said before, I've had an interest in boards and governance in these types of things, and I would definitely be interested.
Great. And with whatever's left on the timer, please offer us your closing statement.
I guess a few things I just would like to share. What I think makes me different, I really have a passion for learning. I really am interested in the operation of the board. I'm not as up to date as many of these people, I believe, but I'm really passionate and I want to learn. And another thing is not that anyone else doesn't, but I do have a very significant interest in understanding the opinions of those that disagree with me. Because our world as a whole right now is a little bit too, you disagree with me, I don't want to, it's just, your opinions don't matter. And that is kind of to the detriment of everyone, because there's something to learn from every person I've ever talked to. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming here and speaking with us tonight. It's been fantastic to get to know you. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just if anyone out there sees us all kind of like dodging, there's another wasp floating around. So we're gonna get it. We are
I
gonna
saw
get
you
it.
ready with your legal pad.
Yes, always ready with the legal pad. That's a good sign. Okay, our next interview will be with Chris Henshu.
I think I have the questions memorized at this point, right? I don't.
And now that I've probably frightened off any of the applicants from coming up here, knowing that we're dodging wasps, we appreciate that you're willing to come sit with us. Just
I'm not allergic.
forewarned is forearmed. Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you for coming to talk with us tonight. As you've noticed, we're going to do the same.
Yep.
Introduce yourself. Let us know what motivated you to apply for the board. Then Jana will ask some questions and we'll have some time for a closing statement.
Perfect.
So if you are ready, we'll
I am.
get started. Thank you.
Chris Henshu. I have some notes I might reference here a couple of times, but born in Madison, lived most of my life here in Madison. Went to Madison Memorial High School, and I'll come back to that. But then I also attended UW-Madison, civil engineering degree, and my wife and I moved to Verona specifically for the school district. As I've seen the decline of a memorial, for example, which at the time of my graduation was one of the top 3 in the state, it was concerning to me that the Madison School District had declined. And so that's kind of the specific driver why we came to Verona. We live in a new neighborhood out here. I have 2 young boys in the first grader and a pre-K. My younger sister lives 2 blocks from me in the same neighborhood. My older sister lives 2 blocks, same neighborhood, next door to my parents. So we're all, my brother's in Germantown. I don't know what's wrong with him, but so I have a lot of nieces, one nephew in the district as well. So making sure they're scholastically achieving is very important to me. Personally, I'm an entrepreneur. I have written and published in the tune of 14 and counting patents. I also do cell tower work. So over the COVID duration, I do work in rural communities in Wisconsin to build broadband internet. So I've gone to probably 100 town board meetings to learn about their needs and accesses. And so I've empathized with a lot of those folks who had little to no internet access as they were homeschooling and working remotely. So I know the challenges that they're facing, and it comes back to, you know, how we are so lucky and prepared here in Verona. And again, then finally, what really drove me to want to become part of the board is I've always been a very active parent. My parents were very active, coached every sport I ever played in. I now have coached both my boys in every sport they played in. And as I saw this opening come along, I said, okay, I'm there athletically. What can I do scholastically? I want to get involved and help them to be the best successes that they can be, as well as their peers, as well as their family members in the community. So that's kind of my intro and why I'm here tonight.
Great. Question 1. In your opinion, what is the role of a school board member? And how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
So I foresee, or I see the board looking to help reinforce and establish a culture of administrators and educators, set expectations, and with those expectations, measure results. I would be the first one after doing remote learning last year. I'm not an educator. I have no education in doing that. I have no desire to do that. They're very, very well trained and people who like to do it, really, to be honest with you. So I foresee them, you know, helping to reinforce the ideas and roles that they are trying to implement to teach all these little learners what to do and be an oversight and results committee.
Great. Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
So my vision is to continue the great work that you guys are doing now. I think diversity is, whether it's socioeconomic, geographic, scholastic, I think the diversity that has been established and is being implemented throughout the district right now is excellent. I think with my background, traveling in the state of Wisconsin, seeing a lot of things, being an entrepreneur, being a constant learner, I can help bring in new ideas and help support and implement those as well.
Question 3. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
One issue that I am quite concerned about, I would just label as complacency. I think that whether in being a coach of children and seeing, you know, how much the children know from a scholastic, they're all into it, but they don't know how to do much of any of it. Part of that is, hey, that's what you're there to do. But I also see parents being complacent, parents not taking the ball out with the kid or sitting down with them and doing their schoolwork. So I think I don't want to see us be a society of complacency. You know, how many job openings are open right now and how many people are at home, I think is a problem. So I want to make sure that we are helping to support whether a kid wants to go to college, let's set them up the best to be at college. If they want to be working in the mines, let's let them work in the mines, but let's set them up for what they want to do. College isn't always the answer. There are other opportunities that are great fits.
Question 4. If appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Yeah, very simply, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. So yes.
Great. And with the time that you have remaining, please offer us your closing statement.
Yeah. So again, appreciate the opportunity. Had never really, frankly, even thought about doing this until I saw the email come out and then being involved in the sports side of things, wanting to get in scholastically. But I am concerned. I'm concerned with the world the environment that we live in for our children. I don't think there's a parent or an educator out there that can say technology can be a blessing and a crutch. I have concerns that children can't necessarily independently play as well as they could when I grew up, or probably any of us. So I think that they're dealing with a lot, whether it's COVID, whether it's critical race theory stuff that everyone wants to talk about, or school boards, those are all big problems. But the children see it, and the children see us reacting to it, and I'm concerned about how that is impacting them socially, emotionally. So I want to be there to help support them in any way that I can.
Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you for coming and letting us get a chance to get to know you.
You
And
bet.
we really appreciate that.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's doing a great job on time.
I know.
I'm very impressed. Our next interview will be with Mr. Leotha Stanley. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Nice to see you tonight.
And you as well.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We've already warned everyone about the WASP, so now you know.
I have my pen just in case.
Smart.
No,
Good
no epi though.
As we've done with other candidates, we'd like to hear you introduce yourself and let us know what motivated you to apply for the board. And then Yana will ask you some questions.
Okay.
So if you're ready, we'll just jump right in.
Leotha Stanley. I'm a long time Madisonian and Verona taxpayer. So I live in Madison, but I vote in Verona School District. I came to school here from Milwaukee, been in Madison since '74. Oh my God. And been around the block a few times, served as a firefighter and a paramedic for the city. I was an athlete at the university. I sold insurance. I drove Uber. I work currently at the Urban League of Greater Madison. And I work there as an employment and training specialist. I work with fathers as well. I work with men, some as young as 20 and some as old as 64. And when I work with them, I find out that a lot of them took a wrong turn, and the wrong turn in their lives caused them to come see me. And a lot of them don't have jobs. A lot of them have been incarcerated. A lot of them have no driver's license. And a lot of them live potentially, those that are with me, those men that I see, live with women where they're not on a lease. And so I ask myself the question, what happened? And a lot of it happens from this start in school at an early age. And part of my reason for being here is how can we nip some of that in the bud? How can we change mindsets? How can we change attitudes? How can they have direction in their lives where they can see a future so that a lot of people look out a window instead of in a mirror and just only see themselves. So my reason for being here is to be a part of a board that can help make decisions to change the lives of those that might be able to be productive in a democratic society.
Great, thank you. Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
I think the role of the board is to provide education and resources and do it in an equitable fashion to anybody, regardless of gender, income, creed, race. To be a member of that board is to help facilitate, bring to the table ideas, thoughts, diverse opinions, so that you can reach that end. I think the board also should work as a unit and just think about what the expectation of the students are and not necessarily the strategic moves that the choices that the staff and superintendent might make.
Thank you. Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community? And what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
I think that there's a lot of untapped potential in students. And there's seeds within that teachers, staff, everybody needs to just water those seeds. There has to be options, choices, clubs, sports, arts, whatever can be used to help a child come to know who they are and give them education on top of that. If we water those seeds, then we can help those students remember us as teachers, and I was a teacher as well. You can ask the question, who is the Vice President of the United States from most years? And nobody could tell you, but you talk about a teacher that helped you when you were growing up. You can remember those names just like that. Miss Van Brunt, Robert Verbeek. I can remember those teachers. And so teachers make a difference in students' lives. And I think that's what we ought to do.
Question 3. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
I would say diversity. My daughter was a teacher, is a teacher. She's in Nashville, Tennessee. I went to visit her. It was predominantly Black school. I walked down the halls and everybody was engaged, listening to the teachers. They were doing projects, silence. And I said to myself, after being in a lot of different schools over 30 years in the Madison school districts and surrounding areas, I said, what is the difference? Even working here at Verona schools, I would see students overtaking classes. And I wanted to know why that was. And a lot of it, because it was African-American students, I must say, a lot of them just didn't respect teachers. They didn't respect authority because a lot of them didn't see themselves in the staff. And I think that that's a big issue with EDI, that students need to see themselves no matter where they go. And the more that a board is diverse, the optic of it, the more that the staff is diverse, the optic of it, it gives a warmer environment. And then you can have that mutual respect, that authentic relationship with the community, and you can have critical conversations without any pushback, because you just get to talk as a family. And so I think that's it. Okay, go.
Thank you. Question 4. If appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Yes, I am.
Great. And with the time that you have left, please offer us your closing statement.
Well, one thing is that the talent that was just here that you interviewed, we got to find some strategic way to use all of that, tap into that.
Yes, yeah.
I believe that students need to have inspiration, to have aspiration, to get a good education so that they can participate in a democratic, diverse society. And so I just think that we can contribute to that.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight. We really appreciate getting the chance to get to know you and to hear from you. And we thank you for your time.
And I was very nervous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. How are we? We are doing excellent on time. Oops, hang on. I'm not doing excellent with my timer, but that's an issue I'll figure out. Our next interview is with Jennifer Kostic. And Jennifer, you'll have to correct me if I am mispronouncing your name, and if so, I apologize. Okay. Coming, from a Steer Christensen, I'm half the time Steyer, I'm half the time, you never know. Okay.
It is Kostic.
Kostic, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to come out and meet with us. As with everyone else, we're going to have you introduce yourself, let us get to know you a little bit, tell us what motivated you to apply for the board, And then Yana will ask you some questions.
Okay. Okay, I know this is an introduction about myself, but man, the talent that just interviewed is just amazing. And I felt like running out like before this because wow, they are just rock solid. But anyways, here goes nothing. So I'm here and I was concerned because there was an open position and I know it's not a popular thing to do is apply for the board. And I care about my kid and I care about the community and the kids that are in the community. So I threw my name in the hat. I guess to give you a little background about myself, I've been in basically healthcare data for the last, if you add it all up, about 20 years. So, and from scrubbing data to making reports to analyzing data. And so that's kind of my thing, if you want to call it. And and I have been attending the different meetings. So I have heard the different metrics that are coming up down, the line. And so that kind of interested me. I thought, well, if you need somebody to help with that, I think I could be that person to help with data analysis because that is something I enjoy a lot. And it's what I do. And what else? I guess to give you a little context, and I did speak a couple times before at a board meeting. My daughter just started coming back to the school. She's a junior now, but we've done I feel like both of my children have been very much guinea pigs over the course of their lives because we've done, we were at Stoner Prairie for a number of years, and then we did traditional homeschooling. In fact, that was a hard step because they had their best teachers their last years out of Stoner Prairie. So 2nd and 5th grade, they had phenomenal teachers. And then we pulled them to homeschool because our schedules allowed it and we felt called to do it. And we did that for about 3 years. And then we did virtual school, mainly Bridges up in Merrill. And but my daughter said she wanted to go back and she wanted to be in a classroom. And the last time she had been in a classroom was 2nd grade. And so she's back in the classroom and she's enjoying herself a lot. And she's got art class, the things that are kind of limited sometimes with virtual experiences. She did have art classes, but there's nothing like going into a classroom and actually doing art with an art teacher. So, and then Mandarin, goodness gracious, she chose Mandarin. So anyway, so she's really enjoying herself and I am here to support her and other students.
Thank you. Question 1. In your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
Okay, I feel like everybody's answered this correctly and I don't know if I can add much to it, but I think we're the voice of the parent in the community. We're the sounding board, if you want to say, for administration, kind of and somebody once said it was the checks and balances of it all. So I guess that's how I see school boards in general.
Thank you. Question 2. What is your vision for education in this community and what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
Okay. I was pondering this. Being number 10 gives you a little chance to ponder. So given the fact we are not getting all different questions, I guess I do, there's a lot of talk of diversity and I have to say I wasn't raised in a diverse background at all. It wasn't until I actually got to college that I was, in a diverse environment. So, and now that I'm in the workforce, I'm at Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, I work with people all around the nation and of all different if a WASP comes up here, I may just run. So I'm just telling you, okay? So, but I work with everybody around the nation, all different types of people. And that's the kind of society that we need to be comfortable working in. So, in fact, not just even the nation, even some international, that we have, work with. So, I'd like to see that increase. And then, the other thing is, my son actually he decided not to go the traditional route of college. And I think that was one thing that the Bridges kind of didn't have, was really exploring other avenues for kids that were really not going to be college bound. He was way more hands-on kind of kid, mechanically inclined, fixing things. And I see that, like when you mention your, our strategic objectives, there's number 3. It says empower every student to be college, career, or community ready. That's something that really resonated with me, because I think we have a variety of skills and we should offer that to students. So I guess what I offer, I don't know. I just in support of that. I'm not sure exactly, other than if there's a way to measure it in data, I would be all for measuring data. So.
Thank you. Question 3. What do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
I have to say, and I know it's maybe the easy answer, but right now I still think COVID's like a real issue, and it's going to be for a while. And I think it's really hard to balance education and, safety. So I think that's going to be a delicate role, just balancing it. But I think just communicating with people, I think that's what kind of dampens down the frustrations, is just communication. I know that I feel so much better when I see something versus when I get a surprise. So I can see the school board facilitating good communication. And I realize I am running behind here.
That's okay. Yeah. And we're doing great on time. So go ahead. Do you have time to?
Yeah, I'm good. Question 4, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
Okay, I'm going to have to say a definite maybe, because I actually do not know. Okay, this is my naivete. I don't really know that much about what it means to be a board member, like to actually the day in, day out of it all. So I do have a full-time job. I'm assuming you guys do too. So it would be just understanding the commitment, which I would hope that we would go over that at the next interview if that would be the case. So it's a definite maybe. So that's where I stand.
Great.
Sticking to it.
No, that's great. And we'll allow you time to give your closing statement. Go ahead.
Just thank you so much for your time. Any number one of these people here are just phenomenal. I think we just all care. We were just talking. I think we just all care about a community and making sure that everybody's getting like a solid education and down the path that they need to go in life. So to be successful. So that's all.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, for coming up and talking and sharing with us. We really appreciate you doing that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our last interview of the night is Megan. Megan Finch is here. Come on down. Hi, Megan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So what we're doing tonight, we are going to give you a time to give an intro, tell us a little bit about yourself, what motivated you to apply for the school board.
Sure.
Then Yana is going to ask some questions. You might have missed, there's a wasp flying around, so we're just going to give you a heads up.
Exciting.
Yeah, if you see.
There it is.
Good. Good. Keep an eye on it. That's always a good thing if you can talk and keep an eye on the wasp. That's good multitasking. And so we are going to, we have 7 minutes. and we look forward to getting to know you if you're ready to start.
Great. My name is Megan Finch. I've been in education for the last decade of my life. So I studied education in undergrad and I went right into teaching. I've taught for 10 years now, and usually K through 12. And I've always been passionate about education. And I really have seen a lot of inequality and just things that I felt could do better and be improved upon. And so I left K through 12 a couple of years ago, hoping that I could find a way to do something more at a bigger scale. And so I've been thinking about running for school board for quite a few years. It's intimidating. And so when I saw this opportunity, I was like, oh, what a great way to get my foot in the door and then run. So that's kind of what led me to want to apply right now.
Great. Question 1, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member and how does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or administration?
I see the school board members representing the community. You're the liaison, you're listening to the people around, the parents and what they want and what they hope to see. And I see administration superintendents more, for better or for worse, more set apart. They're more involved with the school, the day-to-day, how things are going to get implemented and more the minutia. And I feel the school board kind of driving the vision and the rest carrying it out.
Great. Question 2, what is your vision for education in this community and what experiences or skills do you feel you have that can help VASD achieve this vision?
Good. I think my vision for all education in communities is, I know it's one of your pillars is the equity piece, and just making sure that everybody has what they need, that everybody has the resources and is getting it so that we don't have 8th graders learning to read, when they're getting it in the timely manner. So that's a big thing. I also feel like having it as a community, right? And not just like, oh, my kid goes to this school, but have everyone feel like they belong to it and that they have a place in it, is really important for me as well. Yeah, and the experiences and skills I have, most of it probably comes from my teaching background. My 10 years, I've been in various different schools with different demographics and different issues. And I feel like I have seen what works well, and I've seen what doesn't work well. And so I feel like I can lean on those experiences to kind of help guide any kind of vision setting.
Question 3, what do you see as the major issue or issues facing our school district? And what role do you believe the school board has in addressing those issues?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest issues that comes to mind is the COVID issue that has happened over the last year. I think the school board listened to the parents. As I understand it as an outsider, not on the inside, I saw a lot of parents asking to go back to school. And I feel that Verona school area went back to school first. And I feel like they were listening to the parents and listening to everybody commenting, but they were also listening to health administrators. And so I think they were very proactive and they were listening to the community and what they wanted, and they were able to implement that in a safe way. So I think it was really great. Good job, y'all.
Question 4, if appointed to the board, are you willing and prepared to run for office in the spring 2022 election?
I am. I had mentioned in my opening, I have not run before because it's very intimidating. I don't know if any of you felt that way, but as an outsider, I have known nothing about running for office. So assuming that if I were appointed to the board now, I would hopefully be making friends who had done it before and could help me learn what to do. So yes, I would be.
Great. And with the time that you have remaining, please offer us your closing statement.
My closing statement is, I think you will all do a great job. I was not here for all of them, but the woman before me mentioned that everyone is very passionate, and I think that's one of the most important things. So good luck.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. I want to just preface, you're changing hats pretty quickly.
Yes, I just finished my class.
I appreciate you going from teacher role to interviewee role on the turn of a dime. So
thank you.
We really appreciate you coming out tonight and introducing yourself and letting us get a chance to get to know you.
Great. Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I just want to say that this has been really amazing to get to know everybody and get to hear all of the different perspectives. Truly the talent and the care and the concern for our kids and our community that's come from the interviewees tonight has just been incredibly encouraging. I feel like I've gotten a preview of everybody by reading everyone's materials tonight, but really truly hearing this from you articulate the care that you have for your own kids, but not just your kids, kids that are all the kids in our district. It's truly heartening. So thank you for your time. You've truly made this an impossible night for my board members. I would like to point out though something. Every single board member here, with the exception of one, has been through the appointment process. Every one of us has gone through and either was appointed or ran in the next election. And we've all sat where you sat, and we know this is hard. And again, it's an act of courage to put yourself out here, to come with such authenticity, to truly show yourself and your care for the community is just something I applaud, and I'm truly grateful for. And having been in your shoes, I really appreciate it. And again, I do encourage everybody to run, because our community would be well served, beyond well served, by any single individual that came out tonight. And it would be an honor to sit with any of the individuals that interviewed tonight. I'm just very, very grateful. So thank you. And with that said, now I am going to ask the impossible from my fellow board members. And I mean, maybe we just make a motion to expand the board by,
I'm ready for that.
Is that something that we can add in? Because that seems like the only way to do it. Truly, this is asking the impossible. And I think we're gonna have to take a bit of an intermission to give the board a minute to take a second. So well done, candidates. You've made it impossible. But I'm gonna ask the board to select 3 candidates that we will then tally, and then the top 3 we'll bring back for second interviews next week.
Christina had something.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I just wanted to say, I'm just really impressed with all of you. And I think we all know that societally, when we look around the nation, this is not the easiest time to serve on a school board. Oftentimes people will say, oh my gosh, did you know what you were getting into? And I'm like, no, of course I didn't predict being a board member during a pandemic. Did I think that would happen? So I'm really impressed that you know that, and you're coming forward to want to be appointed to the board. So thank you for just showing the interest that you have and the passion that you have at a very difficult, challenging time. So just kudos to all of you for stepping up.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say too, I'm struggling because I want half of you somewhere in our schools and more than half of you, but at least half of you to apply to our school district to work for the school. And so I'm like, do I want them to be board members, or do I want them to be our principals and teachers and support staff? And I mean, there were just so many opportunities. And so I just ask that regardless of how you get involved, please get involved. This is not the only way that you can get involved. Our students need the support of their community right now. And I know that all of you have mentioned how much you support your children and children really close to you, but also your willingness to support those who are not your own children. And so if you're not all appointed, which we can't appoint you all, unfortunately, but I do ask that you find some way to get involved in our school district, because the experiences that you all have are invaluable to us and our children. And they all just represent so many different voices that we don't always get to hear from and we don't always get to engage with. But please, please, please find a way to get involved within our district somewhere. Our kids can use the support from all of you.
Any other comments from board members? I will say it has been mentioned a couple times that the running in a board election is daunting. It is daunting, and we would all agree that it's daunting until you find somebody that can walk alongside you and spell out the process. Signatures start circulating. You're able to start circulating signature sheets for to be on the ballot in April, starting December 1st. I would be more than happy to talk with any individual, and you all have my email address, and walk through the process of how to get on the ballot. What's the timeline? But the first timeline that comes up fairly quickly, December 1st. is when signature sheets can be circulated. They can be circulated between December 1st and then the first Tuesday in January is when they need to be turned in along with some paperwork. And it's fairly simple once you've gone through the process. I would, again, be thrilled to tell anybody, walk anybody through the process. But I do want to put it on the radar because it comes around pretty quickly from today. And it shouldn't be daunting, and we can certainly make ways to make it not, and to make it less so.
And I know a great campaign manager. That helps. It helps a ton. I had no idea what I was doing. I was in this seat last year, this time last year. Popped up on my Facebook that I did my Meet Your New School Board Member on this day last year. So I definitely know what it's like to be appointed really quickly and then turn around and run 3 months later. So if anybody is needing support, she is amazing. And she's not that expensive.
John, did you have something?
I'll add on that because I was also in that meeting this date last year and I didn't get picked like you.
Oh, John.
Hi, John. I see you
Jen
down
feels
there.
me.
Yep, we gave our seat to, yeah.
And then I turned around and ran and it was very scary and very daunting. And yeah, so, but it is possible if I can figure it out.
And now everybody's put their toe in the water. Now we are going to pull you all in.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the board to take a minute. Pick your top 3. We'll collect ballots. Christina and Jen, you'll help me tally, and then we'll, it'll take a couple minutes just to make sure we're doing math correctly on the spot and then we're thinking through everything. So if we could have just maybe 5 minutes. Okay, sorry, 5 minutes max. Sorry, I'm getting dive bombed here. That sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there should be music in this intermission period here.
Just not Jeopardy music.
Well, that's what's in my head.
That's.
So board members, you have the sheet that has your name at the top, put your name on it, and then rank your choices and then circulate them back this way. That's good.
Oh, Miss Tamara.
Unfortunately, we just got that. Can we expand this to top 4?
We're not gonna
It's like
get
at least
to the numbers, it's just to help us. keep
That helps
track.
me. Just
Yeah,
because I
we'll all
don't
pick
have
different
that.
people. So
Okay,
yeah. There's so many good people. You only get 3 picks, but you'll probably end up with more than 3 people.
That music was seriously put up.
Oh, that wasp is so annoying. You need like something I can spray right at it, it drops in floor. No, that's not, that doesn't sound very environmentally sound, but
That's exactly what it does.
that's what I want. They have that in like the keychain version. Instead of pepper spray, it's like instant wasp
Oh,
eliminator.
I like your confidence,
There,
sir.
see? You get it? Oh, no.
Oh my
No, just mad.
God.
You're so close, mad.
Get an A for effort.
Here you go.
If they're done, can't grab them. No, I'm struggling.
That was hard.
Somebody tell me.
I'll be happy to tell you.
No, just what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure somebody put the ones that you can't pick.
You think so?
That was my logic.
Okay. You have to go with your gut. This is a good problem. 5? Yes.
Rochelle, can you kill the mics, please?
Oh.
I know you.
Yeah,
That's it.
I appreciate that. Because I feel like more support. You feel like you came, you can make my offer. Okay, thank you so much for everybody's patience. Again, this has been like an incredibly difficult decision. I know
was
we all struggled. I'm going to just announce in alphabetical order our top vote getters that will have come back next week to interview next Monday. So next Monday, Joe Haynes, Carissa Huntington, Yanli Rush, and Corby White. We will be looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. Next Monday, 6 o'clock, November 1st. I'll send out more information to let everybody know what the details of the next step will be. And I also, again, want to just send out my heartfelt thank you to everybody who took the time to come tonight. It's just been truly heartening to see in this challenging time that there's people that are so willing to step up and serve our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, board, thank you very much.
Or debrief.
We are going to, I'm going to double check and make sure that we've gotten all of our agenda items have been covered. We've done well on time. So again, thank you all for your time tonight. And this was a very difficult decision. We're going to take just a minute to a quick adjournment, and then we are going to come back and have just a very quick board debrief. It's been a good night. So, okay, quick adjournment, then we'll be right back. Wait, we're taking a break.
Recess, you mean? Recess?
Sure. Whichever modality fits.
I'll echo that. I think I've continued to be impressed with how our community has handled some of the general divisiveness around schools lately so cordially and respectfully. And I continue to see that. So I'll take that as a continued win.
Okay. So I've been through a few of these now appointment kind of things. One where I did not get picked, of course, because remember this.
I was thinking that you hadn't been through, so we
Yes.
literally have all been through the
Yes.
appointment process.
You got picked. I got told, thanks for playing, and then I had to run.
And then you got kicked.
But I want to say that every time I see people come forward, it makes me so happy that I moved to Verona. So I moved to Verona when pregnant with my third child, living in a small 2-bedroom house, was like, there's no room for this kid. Where am I going to go? You know, like there's no room. There's literally no room. And could have lived anywhere in Dane County, really. And Verona just stuck out for me. I had a friend who lived here. I would talk to parents and families and it was always positive what they would say about schools. And it was a variety of schools, a variety of kid ages, but they always like spoke with pride. So when we go through this process, it reminds me of, okay, there are other things I may not have done so well, but man, did I pick the right place to live. Because people really care. And though they come from all different backgrounds and I may not agree with, we might have very different views on things, they really do care about schools. And like seeing our high school always reminds me of that, how much support we have for schools here. So I'm just really proud of our community and it inspires me that at such a difficult time to serve on a school board, that so many people would say, I'll step up to that, I'll try that. So I'm just really pleased with our community. Yana?
I'll echo all of that. I was in this exact seat last year. Things were a little bit rougher, but maybe not. And I was that person that was like, yeah, sure, I'll run and I'll be a board member and this is going to be great. And it has been, but it's definitely different than what you think and what you expect. And to sit up here and talk to the community all the time and represent such unique viewpoints and for people to watch us go back and forth in different opinions, it's a hard job to have. And right now it's even harder. And I would say this year, watching the things that have happened on school boards and at school board meetings, I mean, there's like this spotlight that's on us that I don't know that I was necessarily prepared for, but you just kind of go into it and you roll with the punches. And so to see so many people, despite all of that, to say, to Christina's point, let me try it. Let's see. Let me put my name in the hat. Or even, I wasn't sure if people would put their name in the hat. So I figured I'd be the one on the chopping block. Like that takes a lot of bravery and commitment and passion to the community. And so I just hope that we find something for all of them to do somewhere in our district, whether it's in our schools or just in our community somewhere. I just hope that we can foster some kind of relationship with each of them because they all offered something special that we can use right now.
Jen?
I think I'm just a little awestruck by what things were like in this district when I was hired in 1998 and how things sound now. And seeing how this massively growing and changing district is still just moving forward in such a collective shared way, even with, varied opinions, varied perspectives, it's all kind of still coalescing around wanting the best for the kids that live in this community. And I'm just kind of in awe of all of that, right? To be a part of this and to see how these conversations have had to change over the years I've been here, but that it's still just with this sort of light of, we just want the best for kids and what does that look like? So yeah, I'm super impressed by the folks that stepped up to do these interviews tonight.
So I just want to say, as we're doing the board debrief, I want to say how impressed I am with our board and the fact that you all stepped up to do this work. And as we are going through this process, I am continually appreciative of how much effort you're putting into, how much time you're putting into in prep. I know everyone came here today having fully vetted all the candidates because this matters. And your time and energy and effort showing up each time, that matters. It matters to our community and the work that you're doing matters. So I just want to say thank you. And I just really appreciate all of you and all the work that you're bringing to this table. So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Excellent. A motion by Nicole. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Christina. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Oh,
No,
we are
let's go
adjourned.
home.
Thank you.